Hey, greetings. Looks like we're live now on Facebook. We should be going live on Blog Talk Radio in just about a minute. Apologies for the late start, but that's the way it went. So that's the way it goes. We've got an important show for you tonight, and we'll have Clifford on the line here soon, hopefully. And we'll be getting this show shared. Hopefully, as soon as Clifford gets on the program.
The show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
All right. Hey, greetings, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You're tuned in to the Militia Intelligence Report, and there's a lot of news this week, and looks like we got a lot of folks watching right now. Cliff will hopefully be on the line here soon, so we're gonna get right into it. It's kind of scary today. I don't know whether other folks are getting distracted by impeachment, but that seems to be yesterday's news, because the coronavirus, which is an obvious biological warfare agent that was patented in the United States not long ago, very recently, within the past 5 years, is causing havoc around the world. And I knew this was bad when I first started seeing Goldman Sachs referencing the drop in oil prices as a result of this. So we get back to, again, part of these operations are stock manipulations, particularly shorting markets, spiking and shorting, because it's just about getting whatever the most value is out of every usury-based financial transaction or action, because it doesn't have to be a transaction, it just can be an action, including, creating a quadrillion dollars with nothing backing it. It's an action, it's not a transaction. It's not, a quadrillion dollars worth of commodities for a quadrillion dollars worth of cash. That's not how it works. It just it creates money out of thin air, this criminal system. So tonight's broadcast is called Decoding, because that's what we do. We decode for folks. That's really our only purpose. Coronavirus, impeachment, Virginia militia, Revelations, as in the book of Revelations, Agenda21. So we're going to compare what's happening today in the news with the book of Revelations, knowing that this is intentionally created and that there's more going on. We're going to try to reach that level of where we get to the bottom of what we know. And I'm pretty confident we've got a good track record. So if I wasn't providing this resource, I would be utilizing the individual who was providing this resource most effectively, and I will put the work that we do here every Friday night, and what we've been doing, I and several others have been doing, I guess for the past 15 years in earnest. And there's a record of what we say, what has actually transpired, our prophetic predictions, and also our analysis it stands up to everyone. So we'll say right now, I'll speak for myself. I do not know nearly everything. I'm excited by the fact that I learn profound new things that are essential every single day. However, when we make a statement in regard to what's going on right in front of our faces, geopolitically, financially, our work it can be put up against anyone. So this is just what we're doing. We're working, and we're not working with any individuals or anything like that. We'll get into that when we talk about the political concept of the militia versus the LARPing weekend warriors idea of the militia. So we'll start with the coronavirus. We're going to cover a couple quick things with the coronavirus, which is causing havoc. There are, it appears to be upwards of hundreds of millions of people that are on quote-unquote lockdown. This was a discussion because of the coronavirus. This was a discussion that I was having this afternoon when I was speaking to someone who was not really into the news, but had to take notice of this pandemic that seems to be forming. And if it's not forming, they're doing everything to convince us that it is. And when I say they, the corporate media, the same entities that created the virus, are wishing to let us know that some sort of pandemic is forming. So we know that there's a Bill Gates connection to this coronavirus, and that it seems at this point hundreds of millions of Chinese people in major cities in China are on quote-unquote lockdown. That was the question I was asked. What does lockdown mean? And having listened to what the description was and seeing the headline lockdown at the bottom of the screen on CNBC, it seemed to me that roads were closed, that public transportation shut down, and that people were not able or allowed to leave where they are. So that is a very unusual occurrence, and we're going to get into all the biological warfare elements of this story, including the fact that I just saw something Clifford posted about the fact that this strain originated in a bioweapons lab. Cliff, is that correct?
So there's been a lot of stuff. The misinformation and disinformation campaigns are absolutely disgusting, but there are so-called independent fact checkers saying that it wasn't created in the lab and the patent is wrong. But it's similar to when they obfuscate about the fact that there's...
I'm not asking what... right. Sorry, Cliff. I mean, but
because I want to elaborate.
Okay.
I'm trying to give context.
Okay.
I'm trying to clear the mud.
Right, but...
So
okay, go ahead.
There have been two labs... There have been two labs in China that have been associated with the virus that are bioweapons labs.
Right. Okay, so what I think is every time that they're creating one of these, and so yes, it has been created in a lab. I got sanctioned by Facebook because they said my story, that my video talking about the United States patent for the coronavirus was fake news. And there's something called science feedback, which is an arm of Facebook that I'd never heard of, that likes to get on top of these stories and twist it around. Because I didn't create this thing. You know, I just start hearing about the coronavirus out of nowhere, and somehow I'm in my news feed and I see, wow, that's a United States patent for the coronavirus. So I look it up and I'm like, hey, is this real? Yeah, that's a real United States patent. and, check the sourcing. Yeah, see it in several different sources. So it's for real. So I go, okay, well, let me go with this story because obviously this is bioweapons. Because when Clifford was talking, when I saw that post about Clifford, this is a mainstream media story saying that this coronavirus was created in a bioweapons lab. So they're distinguishing. But what I know is that everything is weaponized and everything is first for military purposes. Your vaccines, your highway systems, your biological virus creation labs. There, whether it's Fort Detrick, Maryland, or whether it's Virginia Commonwealth University, or whatever university or private institution is in your city or town or village, that is a weapons lab. Okay, so let's get some headlines when it comes to the virus. First, UK patients admitted. There's 2 cases at least now in the United States. So we know that. Here we go. Coronavirus, U.S. patent for biological warfare. That's a video that I made, but here I'm looking right at the patent. So I also wish to touch on the Israel.
I do want to clarify.
Yeah, go for it.
What the fact checkers, the dishonest fact checkers are saying is that patent is for the SARS coronavirus, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the coronavirus that's been linked to Wuhan, China. But as we said, all the governments work together, and if there is a lab in Wuhan, China, connected to the virus that is a bioweapons lab, and there's already a U.S. patent, it's just them trying to be pedantic and dishonest. It is them being dishonest under a guise of being pedantic. So, and I saw an article from 2014 saying that incurable diseases were being created in labs. So, whatever sort of details are being misconstrued, it doesn't matter because the overall picture, the big picture is they're creating these deadly diseases and pandemics, and they're unleashing them. Continue.
Absolutely. I mean, they're unleashing them. It reminds me of this episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry, we'll get into the Bernie Sanders, Larry David connection here maybe later on in the show. But Larry lends out money to someone allegedly for, just expenses and stuff like that, maybe 10 grand. And then this guy, he then turns around and spends $10,000 on a party for himself where he hires Richard Lewis for about $10,000 to the comedian, all these Jewish comedians, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Curb Your Enthusiasm. And the guy says, Oh yeah, I know you gave me $10,000, but this $10,000 is a different $10,000 than the $10,000 you gave me. That's a different $10,000, but I just gave you exactly $10,000 and you spent exactly $10,000. Oh yeah, that's right, but that's a different one. Yeah, that's right. The U.S. has the U.S. Government has a patent for the coronavirus that's now released. They did a bunch of testing for a pandemic 2 years ago, but that's a different one. Oh, okay, here we go. A high-level exercise conducted 3 months ago showed that a coronavirus pandemic could kill 65 million people. Oh, but that's a different coronavirus. Conspiracy theorists, that's a different one. Oh, you're so crazy, you're debunked. I'm gonna sanction you from science feedback, through science feedback, cause you're debunked. You're debunked because it's not okay. Here's another one. This was one of these mainstream media things that actually got to me, that I think in a positive way. And I remember watching an episode of Simpsons when I was in college, and Lisa Simpson becomes a vegetarian. And it all starts when Lisa sees a lamb at a petting zoo. And then the family at the next meal obviously has lamb chops. And Lisa says, I don't think it's right to eat a lamb. I don't want to eat a lamb. They're too cute, or something to that effect. And Homer responds, Lisa, that's lamb, not a lamb, And then later, he says, well, hey, we'll just have some bacon. No. Have some sausage? No. Have a hot dog? No, that all comes from the same animal. And he says, oh, I'm certainly a wonderful magical animal. It's just these folks that, 1 + 1 is 2. And that's not, a different 2 than the 2 we all know is 2. 1 + 1, here's a test. What's 1 + 1? 2. No, it's 2, but it's a different 2 than the one you're thinking of. I mean, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Chris, I think we're good, and I just want to say that because I've been sharing on my account as well as one of the Chris Dorsey Militia accounts, and I got a comment on something I shared from my account from the Nibiru Countdown group saying that that they were approving the post but closing comments because I quote. Oh no, excuse me, hold up. I quote. I'm approving this and closing comments. I personally feel that we need to draw our own conclusions, says Paul Willard.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but...
I'm not sure what that's about. Yeah,
oh, okay. I see. Maybe... I mean, is that because, like, they're getting nailed by negative I mean, who knows? But in any event, hey, that's cool. Like, that's fine with me. I mean, generally, I don't have any problem. If it weren't for, it reaching more people, I would close comments on everything. I would definitely do that. So that's cool with me. I don't care. I appreciate it. Thanks. I agree. Okay. Everyone should draw their own conclusions. I don't know. What's your thought on that? I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't care. Like, the comments, it's like 99% of the time the comments are garbage. 1% of the time they're excellent.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing I was neglecting when I was processing that statement, because I mean I like open discussion because then I can better refine my ideas by hearing other people's thoughts. But yes, on DARPANET usually the comments are not there to refine your ideas, but just muddy them.
Just to muddy it. Yeah, muddy everything up. So yeah, I was being repetitive in a sort of way where I'm just saying, hey, I'm being straight up with you. If you believe this stuff and some group of quacks calling themselves science feedback affects the way you express yourself and your opinion on something so important as this, I mean,
you're not an adult.
You're not an adult. Yeah, you're just a dummy. You're just a dum-dum. Because...
And Chris, another update, well, not really an update. I saw some headline from one of the alternative media, who I believe is controlled opposition, but Wuhan coronavirus is a designer virus, year of the rat ritual from the Freemasons. I think it being the year of the rat and bubonic plague, I think that's probably
yeah.
synchronicity that we might as well go ahead and document.
I agree. I don't disagree. Yeah, Year of the Rat, bubonic plague. It's that, and it's much more. Like everybody, because but what does that really matter? At the end of the day, what does that matter? We can identify who's doing it, what the purpose is, and I mean, it's just so much over the years of this. There's a new Netflix show. I believe it's called Pandemic. Is that right? Anybody out there? That would be what.
I've seen that title when scrolling through Netflix.
Okay. So again, and we do have a comment about folks being skeptical. Unless it is coming from a local doctor that's like 80, I don't believe any of it. I mean, I don't know what that means, but I'm skeptical of all of this stuff. I don't know what to believe, but they're telling us that this is what's going on, and usually it's worse. It seems strange timing with the trade war. First phase of the trade deal just signed. But again, all the nations of the world work together. I do want to cover. Let's go through it because I want to cover what I thought was important this week, and let's start with the beginning of this week and go into a little bit of the trap that we warned people.
Chris, just go on. I'm going to be sharing for a bit, so I'm going to be muted. So just go on, and when
Okay.
you want some feedback, just let me know.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Clifford. All right, we warned you. Don't go down to this trap. It's not going to do any good. It's too late to petition the government, and don't go down there to the Virginia State Capitol. Don't go down there. Don't go into a trap. So, Cliff and I have been discussing The Art of War, Sun Tzu, a lot this week. And I recognized what was going on with the January 20th event at the Virginia State Capitol in Richmond for what it was. A trap that it will serve absolutely no purpose, and it will be an event where I believe most of these guys are actors. I believe that that's what the crisis actor advertisements were for. I believe a lot of folks got paid to go down there. A lot of folks, it was in their business interest to go down there. Alex Jones, some of the hacks on YouTube, etc. And, I mean, anywhere. Have their own website, have their own radio network, whatever they were there not to serve any real purpose, because what they did was they walked into a pen and got surrounded by folks ready to, considering, with contingency plans, to open fire on them and then frame them for what could or would have been set off. And in any event, these individuals that went down there either went into a militarized no-gun zone where according to the law right now, martial law had to be declared in order for that to happen. And there's also existing statutory law that says even during a state of emergency, you can never ban weapons on public property in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which includes the Virginia State Capitol, but is not limited to the Virginia State Capitol. So not only through existing law, but also through explicit statute, unlawful martial law is declared. Unlawful, state of emergency is declared. Yeah, you can declare a state of emergency, but you can't create no gun-free zones. Now, the statutes that have passed since then and before that event are leading to elimination of carrying guns on state government property and limiting the access and the ability to carry guns in general. But at that time, folks are like, okay, take my gun away. Oh, that's okay. I'm going to go in and lobby someone. Oh, they're not even going to see me, and I just gave up all my rights? Okay, well, maybe I'll go out and stand with all those folks posing with big guns. Oh, okay, all those strange-looking folks looking like, whatever, menacing, stupid, crazy, like freaking Gomer Pyle in some instances. In some instances, looking like, I don't know, Navy SEALs. But in any event, they're all posing with guns, and they're all, I'm talking about the demonstrators, surrounded by a military perimeter, which nobody documented that I saw. Can we see that? That's basically all I do. I mean, I know what the rules of engagement are, and, the rules of engagement are, man, if you're going into a situation where somebody's trying to trap you, like, don't walk into the trap. Don't walk in any farther than you can recognize the trap. It's like human beings are about as smart as roaches or mice. Because hold on a second, let me get this out, Cliff. Because they're slightly enticed to go right in the middle of a trap that is deadly. And the slight enticement is, hey, I'm gonna, get some money for acting? Okay, I'm going to increase my cost to advertisers through broadcasting? Okay, but that's not a good enough reason to walk inside the middle of a trap so you're as smart as a roach, cockroach, or a mouse, or the aforementioned rat. You just need a little bit of enticement, and then you can't help yourself from walking inside of a trap where you're surrounded by snipers pointing guns at you. And I can tell you, hey, if things had gone differently, maybe that individual who was walking in the catwalk around the businesses, probably working for the government, would have opened fire, and then all hell would have broken loose. But it doesn't matter, because it accomplished nothing except for at the end of the day. I did like the guillotine, by the way, though. So, okay, decent talking points. That's really the only good thing that came out of it, was the guillotine, and with the phrase, what was it? Death, treason is punished by death, or something to that effect. So yeah, right on, 100%.
I think it was the punishment for treason is death.
The punishment for treason is death.
Death is the punishment for treason.
Right. So like maybe if somebody was gonna like do that and then have that be the only message instead of like the 22,000 people making all life freaking difficult for everyone in Richmond, they closed off all the freaking roads. The cops, they just get a bunch of overtime, and then they get to, their bosses get to scheme against us. But hey, we told you don't go down there, you morons. So I laugh when I see these guys. Where were you? You're a loser. Where were you? I mean, where were you in 2012 Where were you in 2013? Where were you in 2014? Where were you in 2015? Were you in 2016? Oh, I'll tell you where I was. Done petitioning and lobbying those folks with guns. Cause like it wasn't cool back then. And so anyway, you walked into a trap. You got told beforehand, this is a trap. Don't walk into it. This is a setup. They're already gonna, pass this. They're gonna say it's white supremacist because it's taking place on Martin Luther King Day. And there we have it. I predicted last Friday on the show, hey, this is going to be the last Lee Jackson Day. And guess what these jokers replaced Lee Jackson Day with? Election Day! That's the new holiday. It's like, well, yeah, they don't want to name it Lee Jackson Day, but like the state workers, they're so freaking pathetic, man. They live for these paid holidays that they get with their cush, unimportant, like treasonous jobs. My dad's a former state worker, Virginia state worker, so, I mean, yeah, his job was pointless. I mean, not for the operation, but the operation was pointless. Department of Corrections. But in any event, yeah, Lee Jackson Day. Everybody knows that. We used to get off school for that. But you know what? They're going to say, no, you can't be proud of yourself. You can't look at the great Virginians of the past unless it's like, some dude, that, I don't know. Like, I can't even think of any individual that we're allowed to be like, proud of anymore that did anything noble, righteous, stood for a cause of any kind. So no wonder we look back to the War of Northern Aggression to say, hey, yeah, Robert E. Lee, yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, Stonewall Jackson, yeah, they were great men, great tacticians. They had a sacred belief system, and they accomplished a lot. What most folks would have thought impossible. And we're double-crossed by politicians in Richmond. So, hey, there you go. What's new? Nothing. Nothing is new. So, yeah, you get the most crooked elections in the world. They're the most crooked elections in the world. Let me repeat this. The most crooked, obviously crooked elections in the world that don't get talked about by anyone besides myself. I mean, they had the election system in Virginia gets hacked into every single year. Every single year it gets hacked into, and so they want to mock you by saying like, hey, we know you like Robert E. Lee. We know you like Stonewall Jackson. But hey, this is replaced by a day like where you give your consent to tyranny. How about that? How about we do that? So, white people, folks who are from here or whose ancestors fought for the Confederacy, we think you're garbage. That's what we think. We know you like your guns. We know you like to protect yourself. We know you like history. We know you venerate your ancestors. So we'll just crap all over that. Okay? Good. It's done. So, what do we say every week? We say every week, once the government ceases to carry out its only reason for being, it is abolished. It's not that thing anymore. So recognize when somebody doesn't abide by the Constitution for the United States. and they put that into law, that's a violation of the Constitution, because any law repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. But when every statute that they pass and enforce acts in contradiction or is repugnant to the Constitution, then the Constitution doesn't exist anymore. It's just, as George Bush said, maybe 15 years ago, it's just a blank damn piece of paper. And every president before and since has said something similar, which is fine with me. You know what? I like the Constitution all right. I'm not married to it because I created it. You know, the rules I live by, they don't have anything to do with the Constitution, because the Constitution is the rules for the servants of the people. That's not the rules for the people. And so a lot of folks said, hey, we don't even necessarily think that the Bill of Rights is a necessary thing, because it goes without saying. It goes without saying that when you enter into a state of society, they can't take your guns away. They can't tell you how to think. You can't get set up and framed by the government. So, like, why would you put that in there? And so the Virginia delegation said, well, yeah, I guess that's right. That's evident in the Articles of Confederation. But let's follow the lead of Article 1 of Virginia Constitution, which is basically, it's a better version of the Bill of Rights in the United States Constitution. So that's what they said. And I can tell you, when we're talking about warfare here in 2020 on the Militia Intelligence Report, we're talking about a political concept. We're not talking about a bunch of duck hunters thinking that they are tough and want to start a militia in freaking Pocosin or something like that, or something exactly like that, which is some garbage that some chump came to me with. Some cop, and other associated journalists, not associated with me, but more associated with this January 20th thing than me, or this General Assembly session than me, already handled that guy, Yonk. But in any event, that's not what it's about. It's about wielding the weapons of war so that the government cannot enslave the people and wipe them out, carry out genocide, control their thoughts 100% through operating in martial law and enforcing duress, which is the only reason anyone complies with anything that the police do, except for a small percentage of the population. If you're going 70 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone on the highway, and some cop came up behind you and flashed its light, and you could voluntarily pull over or not, would you ever pull over? No, you would not. And you would be a freaking idiot to do so. And what do? Then they pull you over, and through the fact that they are armed and believe wrongly that they can get away with killing persons, and they can get away with killing persons, but they can't get away with killing people. So, and they've killed a lot of people, and they're not going to get away with it. But the only thing they're doing is carrying out armed robbery. When are the police not carrying out armed robbery? I want to see that. When are they not carrying out armed robbery? When do they ever catch anyone? When do they ever do any good for anybody? The answer is they don't. So this gets us back to, so if there are any self-respecting police officers out there they would quit their job and they would go like, yeah, you're 100% right. And if they do anything to help anyone, there would be a million other ways to do it better without the police, without the entity that calls themselves the police, because policing is an action. It's not an institution. So we're talking about the weapons of war, not the individual's right to carry around a gun, which I mean that goes without saying. That, you know, it certainly went without saying at the time. Let's see what we got. Let's read some quotes from the Constitutional Convention. Here we go. This is from an article from 2014 from the New American. Some chump got on my case for posting this article with these quotes in it, and it's so annoying. I have so much disdain for the public. I just don't know how else to say it, because I post this article. It's very important. And basically, you can miss out on what's important, or you can pick it apart. And so this guy responds to my post, my social media post, just with 2014. It's like, yeah. And the most important part of this article comes from the 17th century. So what? If it's from more than a month ago, it's not relevant anymore. I mean, but in any event, you know, just how these freaking chumps operate on this DARPA apparatus is like, yeah, some of it's like paid government agents, and they're just thinking about ways that they can be as obnoxious as possible, and some of it is just, man, that's just persons being persons. Here we go. During the ratifying convention, during the Virginia ratifying convention, James Madison described a standing army as the greatest mischief that can happen. Hey, you know what they say about James Madison? They call him the father of the Constitution. That's what they say about James Madison. So for all you constitutionalists out there. And so I got the impeachment on in the background, and that's all the Democrats are concerned with today is the Constitution. I mean, they're correct in this. I mean, they're even admitting, yeah, so what? Biden might be corrupt. Well, bring Biden in so we can get two birds with one stone there. Get Biden, impeach all y'all's selves. It's too late. We're already ahead of you, though. His colleague and fellow delegate to the Constitutional Convention, George Mason, put a finer point on the quote, which is, a standing army is the greatest mischief that can happen. This is the quote that Mason is putting a finer point on. A standing army is the greatest mischief that can happen. And here's George Mason, father of the Virginia Declaration of Rights, the author of the Militia Code, which is the basis of the Second Amendment, says this in response: no man has a greater regard for the military gentlemen than I have. I admire their intrepidity, perseverance, and valor. But when once a standing army is established in any country, the people lose their liberty. When against a regular and disciplined army, yeomanry are the only defense. Sick yeomanry, unskillful and unarmed. What chance is there for preserving freedom? Give me leave to recur to the page of history to warn you of your present danger. Recollect the history of most nations of the world. What havoc, desolation, and destruction have been perpetuated by standing armies. Okay. We'll continue. In Federalist, number 29, Alexander Hamilton echoes not only Mason's warning against the standing army, but his solution to the threat as well. So, if you only know Alexander Hamilton from a Broadway play, you don't know anything about Alexander Hamilton. So we'll go here. If circumstances should at any time oblige the government to form an army of any magnitude, that army can never be formidable to the liberties of the people, while there is a large body of citizens little, if at all, inferior to them in discipline and the use of arms, who stands ready to defend their own rights and those of their fellow citizens. This appears to me the only substitute that can be devised for a standing army, and the best possible security against it, if it should exist. Okay. So, I'm just going to grab the Constitution and read this part like I've done so many times before. And we're going to get to the trifecta of everything, because next we're going to talk about the Bank for International Settlements. So we're going to talk about we're talking about things, and we're taking it to the degree where there's no other point of discussion. It's running right into the brick wall of, hey, this is what the Constitution said, this is what the founders said, and they were right. And it's not that they were so brilliant, even though they were recognizing reality. The one truth out there in the world is reality. I want to get to the truth. Okay, you mean you want to get to reality? I just want the truth, man. Reality. So, the truth means saying the truth is recognizing reality and describing it as it is. It is what it is. This is the reality. There's no disputing it. Unless you do something like saying, yeah, this coronavirus was created in a lab, in a bio-warfare lab, and there's a U.S. patent, but that's a different coronavirus. That's a different $10,000 that I spent on this lavish party than the $10,000 I just borrowed from you. It's a different one. So, again, reality is the only truth. Let's see the reality. It's funny, I just opened the Constitution up and to a section on Alexander Hamilton. Certainly not by on purpose, but that's what happened. That's synchronicity. All right, let's see. Article 1, Section 8. Where are you at? Article 1, Section 8. Let's see. All right, so we got to borrow money on the credit of the United States, to coin money, regulate the value thereof, and foreign coin, to fix the standard of weights and measures. So that's given to the government, to the Congress, not a private organization. And then weights. Oh, that's because back then you had to have real money of intrinsic value. All right. To declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures of land and water. That's never done. The Congress doesn't even want to do that. Let's see. Where is it? To raise and support armies, and this is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 12, to raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. So after hearing the framers talk about the dangers of a standing army and seeing the reality that we find ourselves in right now, and to see that it is explicitly forbidden in no uncertain terms in the law of the land, which was ordained by the people and is the rules for the people's servants. There it is, case closed. The Constitution doesn't exist. The United States government doesn't exist because the United States government cannot have a military that loses track of $35 trillion a year if there's an appropriation of no longer than 2 years. And that is implied to occur only when there is a war declared by the Congress. Wow. Okay, now we're back. Okay, they're attacking the broadcast now because it's done. There is no United States of America.
Demons in the comments.
What's that?
They've had demons in the comments. I saw someone comment on the show when I shared it to one of the Joe Rogan groups. Like, someone came in and saying profanity. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, that's what demons do. That's what these folks do. Like, it's like The Exorcist. when they start sprinkling the holy water on, I mean, they really freak out. And this is your holy water. And this is the rules for your servants, and it's not the greatest document that's ever been written, but there's elements of the greatest document ever written as the basis of this document. This is our common law. So, simple enforcement of the government, simple enforcement of the Constitution would result in the execution of everybody who works for the government and any corporation, because they're carrying out treason. They don't do anything but treason. I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that's the fact. I'm not advocating, crazy militia people do crazy freaking stuff. Except for, like, they're not the militia, because the militia only means the people in control of all the deadly weapons of war. Meaning, the people in control of the government. Because all political will comes with the exclusive authority to wield deadly force. That's the way it's always been. So if that's taken away from the people, then the people will be wiped out or enslaved. Or,
which is why, let's reiterate again, we don't walk into traps, into pens or paddocks, since a lot of people keep bringing up the Las Vegas psyop.
right.
Where there's snipers around, where there's snipers on every building. So,
Right.
don't walk into a situation where your enemy wields superior deadly force over you.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it couldn't be said any better. You're walking into a pen surrounded by your enemy. I mean, and I'm not saying they're your enemy. I can't disagree with James Madison, George Mason, or Alexander Hamilton. They're the ones telling you your enemy is the police and the United States Army, the United States Navy, the Central Intelligence Agency, the FBI, DARPANet, and that everyone who works for them is your enemy. I'm not telling you this. That's what Alexander Hamilton, George Mason, and James Madison are telling you. They're telling you every so-called police force, and they play these little word games because we told you, hey, police is a thing. Police is a thing you do. So police and force is like, that's a little game that they play. Police departments, police corporations. It's already all done. I mean, we tell you, hey, this government's abolished. Why you worried about Donald Trump getting impeached? It's done. If what you believe in, say to believe in, you shouldn't care about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You shouldn't care about Elizabeth Warren or crazy Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, they're all pieces of garbage, no doubt. So's Mitch McConnell. So's Rand Paul. They're all pieces of trash. But they don't have any authority except for under duress. So don't put yourself in the middle of duress. There you go. So, and why does this happen?
That's the best way to say it.
Yeah, why does this happen? It happens because there's private corporations, banks that wield power and have taken over the monopoly on currency, and the Bank for International Settlements, which is the central bank of all the central banks, the lender of last resort, the highest authority, including policing authority on the planet. And when I say the highest policing authority, I'm talking about the Bank for International Settlements Financial Stability Board. That's the highest policing authority on planet Earth. So we know that. If you haven't gotten up to speed, stop watching this. Look up the Financial Stability Board and the Bank for International Settlements, and then you'll be right up to speed. It's very simple. One institution controls all the nations of the world. And then there's the United Nations. So that is who is wielding authority. And the United Nations has something called Agenda 21, which is a massive population control and genocide agenda. And so, you know that. You know it. So everything is subsidiary to that. The coronavirus is part of it. The Virginia gun grab is part of it. But it's not. The whole thing is more important. The Federal Reserve Bank and the Bank of China, they're part of the Bank for International Settlements. But the whole encompasses the Federal Reserve Bank, the ECB, the Bank of Russia, the Bank of China, the Bank of England, the Bank of Israel, and all the nations of the world. And through that, they even control those banks and nations too, North Korea and Iran, that are not signatories to the Third Basel Accord, which is sets the capitalization rates and monetary policy for every central bank in the world. So even the ones that are explicitly, hey, we're not a member of this, it controls them 100% anyways. So that gets us into Cliff. Remember we were talking about last night, Cliff and I were talking about the fact that when I'll make a video, immediately I'll see somebody else make a video that completely contradicts it. And I made a video about the United States. It looked like Army, but it could have been Marine Corps. I'm not sure. But the United States military, a military convoy of the United States, guarding and escorting a Russian convoy to take over a base from the United States in Syria. So we saw last week.
More or less shift swapping.
Yeah, shift swapping.
You know how it's like you swap out shifts.
Exactly the best description. So the U.S. military and the Russian military are shift swatching. Shift swapping, and the U.S. is guarding. The Russian military's on the road, and the U.S. military is, being the wingman. creating a military perimeter in order to protect the Russian convoy. So I made a video about that. Let me see if I can find it. And anyway, as I was saying to Cliff, what invariably happens is I'll make a video, and then very soon, not saying that my my video was what made the reaction, but that last night I was checking out the comments, and it was telling me that to watch a video that said U.S. military blocks Russian military in Syria. And so I watched that video, which had 70,000 views. And my video was called U.S. and Russia Incorporated Military, One Entity Under the Bank for International Settlements. So try to dispute that. But then this video, in the playing right after my video in the automatic feed in the suggestion section on YouTube, completely contradicts that in the title. So then I look at the video, and it shows nothing of what it claims in the title at all. It looked like there might have been a traffic jam caused by Syrian locals, and that there was absolutely no evidence that the United States was blocking anything to do with the Russian convoy. It's absolutely absurd the way they do that.
The misinformation campaign is getting very desperate.
And they're mocking us.
Or maybe it's always desperate.
Well, what gets me is the fact that, we can put out great work, and because YouTube has reduced by 70% the amount of quote-unquote controversial content, basically we put the truth out, and then they put out a lie, and it gets like, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times the amount of views. And also, one thing that I did like about this video, and now I can't even find it, is the fact that the comment section was just basically eviscerating the video, saying, it doesn't show this at all. It doesn't even look like there are any Russians in this video. It looks like a traffic jam. It looks like a traffic accident, that has blocked the road in front of a convoy, which I'm certain happens all the time. And then comments further stating, the Jews control Russia and the United States. This is all BS, etc., etc., etc. So there you go. Maybe some folks aren't fooled that much by it, but they are shameless. They're shameless in their lies. And here, let's see if we can. Oh, sorry. Let's see if we can watch this video and show you. This is a good part. Okay, there's the American flag right there. There's the Russian flag. This is in Syria. We know this. Okay, so in real time, see American flag. You see a little bit more of it now. Okay. And there's another Russian tank. There's a Russian transport vehicle. Does that have a Russian flag on the side? Oh man, this. Well, one of the ones coming up soon has a Russian flag on the side that you'll be able to see. But in any event, this is what we're seeing. This is, see, there you go. There you go. So, okay, there's another vehicle with the Russian flag on the end, and then there'll be a tank that comes up at the end with the Russian flag. I think it's 3 vehicles behind. Yep, we're starting to see it now. American Humvee running flank, guarding the movements of the Russian military because they're partners in Syria. And here comes the guy, in case you forgot that it was Russian and U.S. together. There you go. There you have it. So that's reality, and that is the one truth. And that is reality. There is one truth, and that's reality. So I know what I'm seeing. That is from, I believe, like 5 days ago, 6 days ago, when that actually occurred. So there you have it. U.S. and Russia Inc. And don't say just because I left out China and every other country that I don't include that as well. U.S. and I'm just saying in this particular thing, the folks that everybody's worried about are going to nuke each other and are having dangerous confrontations at sea that there's no evidence of. Here's evidence of the opposite. And when you talk about nuclear weapons and space weapons, without Russian equipment, the United States rockets would not work, and without American equipment, or without United States of America Incorporated created equipment, the Russian missiles and space weapons wouldn't work. And they're all satellite driven. They're all using each other's equipment. They're all buying from each other. They're all cooperating. Because what is this about? This is about exploitation of oil in Syria and other valuable commodities. You know, I hear some yahoos talking on the television all the time about Russia this and Russia that, or Russia is our biggest enemy, and you know there's a live shooting war in the Ukraine, and we've got to give these Javelin missiles to the Ukraine so they can defend the rest of Europe from Russia. That's what I'm hearing. Like, you know, I know what I'm hearing when I'm hearing it. Like, that's what people know me for. That's why they put me on TV.
Into the time of the season, real quick, and why we're seeing this.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Sort of the continued shift in narrative. So we've got the new moon in Aquarius today, and so new moons are good for setting intentions for the future. And we're also getting deeper into the age of Aquarius 2020. So it appears that there's a shift going for as America being, once again, swapping shifts of which branch of this criminal Zionist financial military apparatus is going to be holding the weight with the, as many want to call, imperialist conquest. Who's going to be holding the weight for carrying out full spectrum dominance? And now, in saying that it looks like Russia might be getting more weight for the criminal Russian government, I do think it will be a slow process, and that the United States centered military-industrial complex is still, and because it currently is still doing many and most of the military operations. So I think that, because that's something they've been talking about, like, as long as I can remember, that Russia becoming the new superpower. When we say new superpower, it means it's just the sort of main department a lot of things are being run out of.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. My point with all of this stuff is, I believe I haven't changed from when I saw and thought was a great resource, the movie called Ring of Power, where they describe it as the city-states that rule the world. Now, you know, they use Vatican. I think maybe that is being replaced by Jerusalem. But basically, it's DC is the military headquarters. London is the financial headquarters. And the Vatican is the spiritual headquarters for this one world government entity. That's what they say. And one thing I would say is, like, you can make arguments against the Vatican or Rome being the spiritual headquarters, but you can't really make an argument against Washington, D.C. being the military headquarters, because that we still, the Washington District of Columbia government spends countless times over more on military than does China or Russia. Now, are they catching up? Are they allowed to spend their money more effectively with less waste? Do they have less waste to operate under? Maybe. I don't know. Like, I'm not behind the scenes, but I know what the public record says. What has to be on a reality level? You know, they have to create quadrillions of dollars. They have to have trillions of dollars worth of expenditure, because they have trillions of dollars worth of cost. So they do it, and there's a public record. So I really think it's it's a funny thing, because it gets back into this red, white, and blue thing. Red, white, and blue flag, American flag, red, white, and blue Russian Federation flag. Now China is, red and gold. But in any event, yeah, I mean, it's something to look into, but not something to dwell on. But I think Cliff's seasonal references and astrological references are key to all this, and it's same as it ever was. This has always been the case, and it's never not been the case. So when we get into the stuff about Israel directing martial law and war in Virginia, it gets back into Russia. It's like, what country are these Jews, quote-unquote, so-called Jews, operating in? United States, number one. Israel is their crime state, their ethnic group's crime state, and Russia, Ukraine. That's more where they originated from. So let's take a look and segue here into, and the reason we're saying this is because we've already verified and convicted this mob, this ethnic group's mob is behind all of the governments of the world, and they're pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Many ways, through operating out in the open, through being ethnically, quote-unquote, Jewish, Khazarian, and hiding that fact, too. Let's see here. We'll maybe run a little bit more video, if we can get it. And I'll just do the commentary on the video, because we should be able to just see what's happening. Okay, so here, this is about the Israeli unmanned systems, naval and avionics, and this is a partnership between the Commonwealth of Virginia and the Minister of Defense for the State of Israel. And this is an event that's going to happen between February 3rd and February 6th. And it's because Virginia is a headquarters of military industrial complex corporations. And so what we know now is that there's robotics involved with most of what is going to go on with warfare. Just harken back to a couple weeks ago with the assassination of Soleimani. So this is at the invitation of Governor Ralph Northam. The Israeli Minister of Defense is bringing a delegation of 20 Israeli companies with autonomous systems avionics, and naval technologies to the Commonwealth, February 3rd through 6th, just like we were saying. So they're going to use this not just for military purposes, but for police to use deadly force using drones and robotics. We'll get to that in just a second in this video. But that's what I'm going through. And there you see, it's not that many views. I don't see that many folks talking about this. And I know I've made these videos this way for probably the past 10 years at least. These kinds of videos and stuff like this used to get me like 25, 30, 40, 50, sometimes even more, 1,000 views. So, here we go. UAV aerostats. Hold on. Counter UAV sea-based unmanned systems for National Guard, ports, and Coast Guard law enforcement. Securing critical infrastructure using fiber infrastructure. OSTINT, unmanned system. Police/SWAT, intelligence. Event management. Just like we were talking about, Cliff. Isn't that crazy? The Israelis are coming to Virginia. The Israeli Minister of Defense is telling us how to manage events here in Virginia, just like we had. Breaching, training, robotic, lethal, and non-lethal intervention. So it's like lethal and non-lethal, and we've covered the non-lethal, deaths by non-lethal means of police force in the past, so there you go with that. Port security and intelligence, detection of undersea threats and intelligence, blah, blah, blah. City and county resources and infrastructure management and event response management. Oh my gosh. Artificial intelligence, yeah, absolutely. How's the impeachment gonna turn out? I don't know. Like I said, it doesn't really matter because the government doesn't really exist. I'm just watching it because it seems to be like something interesting on TV. It's what everybody's focused on, and it's
right now I'm still leaning it to end sort of like Clinton's impeachment, which nothing came of it. He didn't get convicted.
Right.
It doesn't matter. They're all puppets. Like, are they the ones deploying the lethal robotic measures? No, that's the Israeli Minister of Defense. He's the one calling those shots.
Right, he's the one that's calling those shots. Donald Trump's just a puppet for them, and also so is all the Congress. So, you see, that's the thing that's left out in all of this. If they impeach all the Republicans and all the Democrats and all the independents in Congress right now, then maybe we'll start talking. But just one of the chumps that's like, man, how did they even get away with calling this guy the president? They were really degrading us like in a hyper speed. Yeah, it doesn't, Okay, so, if somebody wants to explain themselves, but like, I'm not gonna bother in mystery, especially when it's like, isn't that so funny? Somebody, like, I'm reading all that stuff, and somebody's response is, how's impeachment gonna turn out? I mean, come on. Good one. Hilarious. I mean, let's unpack this again, Cliff, because this is a big thing here. This is a big freaking thing. This is Israeli Minister of Defense, I guess, like, money handout by Virginia taxpayers. I mean, this is so crazy. And I'll tell you what happened yesterday in the General Assembly. They basically just made Virginia so simple and subsidized abortions in this region so much that, if anybody has any, they couldn't make it any easier for mothers to murder their unborn children. They couldn't make it any easier. I mean, so let's just put it that way. So when you talk about what the government does, all I can say is, hey, they're engaging in war against us. We put it out there. I mean, you know what I'm saying, Cliff? We're going face to face with these chumps like Rudy Rockman. Remember that guy? I mean, that guy. I saw this article,
Yeah.
and then,
I mean, that's the thing. I
but
want to focus more on the actual Israeli criminals. Because the thing is, like, if I can go and confront Ehud Barak, I don't know what everyone else is doing. Like, with Rudy Rodman, he was a complete chump. He was a complete liar. It's disgrace.
right. So like, yeah, okay. So we go out and we confront these Israeli criminals in our land, these troublemakers, and that's what they're doing. And I just read out exactly how they're troublemaking, and we'll go over it again. We'll certainly go over it again. But they are troublemaking, and so I read this article from a couple years ago, and it may have even been Cliff that posted it. And I'm looking down, and I see Rudy Roachman posing with his arm around Sheldon Adelson. And I see multiple pictures of Rudy Roachman, Rudy Rockman, or whatever that chump's name is, with Sheldon Adelson, who's the direct boss of all the other bosses of Donald Trump, besides Jacob and Evelyn de Rothschild, and maybe even Nat de Rothschild. But besides that, who's the boss? Sheldon Adelson. So there's Rudy Roachman with them. We tell you, this is what they're doing. They're declaring war on us, and they go like, no, that's a different kind of war. That, it's not what you think when we say, hey, the Israeli Minister of Defense is going to work with police and SWAT intelligence, event management, breaching, training, robotic, lethal intervention. I mean, that sounds like really, like, maybe it doesn't sound that way to you because you don't know how to, as Frank Matthews said, decode, but we're decoding what that means. It's not good. It's not good. Okay, what else were they doing?
Israelis coming to tell American government officials how to use robotic lethal intervention is certainly not good.
Right.
Especially given that Israel carried out the 9/11 attack.
Exactly. And they're behind all of the other attacks inside the United States against the American people. I mean, that stuff about the event management, it just struck me as, how many times do they have to redundantly show you this? What did we call Philip Van Cleve last week? A Mossad agent. Why is that? Because he was suckered by a Mossad agent, Sacha Baron Cohen, playing a fake Mossad agent named Aaron Morad or something like that, into doing something that put at risk and made look silly all the individuals who believe in our God-given constitutional rights here in Virginia. And I can tell you something, maybe his ancestors are, but Philip Van Cleve is not from Virginia. I wasn't born in Virginia. My parents weren't born in Virginia. My grandparents weren't born in Virginia. But my great-great-grandparents were born in Virginia. So, and again, this guy, I don't know that he has anything to do with Virginia or anything like that. My fourth grandfather was among the last members of the Virginia militia. And he was the guard that guarded John Brown before his execution for treason. in Virginia, in Charlestown, Virginia, which is now Charlestown, West Virginia. So, and that's another thing I want to address here. So there's this another psyop out there telling West Virginia counties to, or Western Virginia counties, because of the unlawful gun statutes in Virginia, to join West Virginia. And what I would say is, if we did have like a representative government, which we do not have a representative government, it shouldn't be a garbage, trash, non-existent, not real entity like the so-called West Virginia that joins Virginia. It should be Virginia's property, the Commonwealth's property. And when I say the Commonwealth, I mean as in the English common law, Commonwealth should be restored as it was, instead of doing the opposite of what should happen. So if the counties of West Virginia joined Virginia, then Virginia would overwhelmingly, to a point where they could not rig it up, be against any sort of gun control. It would make the relevancy of Arlington, Fairfax, Falls Church, etc., it would make it null and void. It would make it moot. Their will would be non-existent. And certain parts are much better land than the swampland around D.C. So, which includes the swampland around Northern Virginia. So anyway, a little bit of aside for me on that. Let's get back into why the Israeli defense minister is going to be making treasonous deals in Virginia on my birthday. Okay, what are they doing? These companies can provide homeland security, law enforcement / SWAT. Why do they have to say /SWAT? I mean, anyway. And is that different from law? I mean, it must be. There is no real law enforcement in this country except for what you're witnessing right now. Because we say, and we've been saying for years, all these guys are guilty of treason. I mean, this is absolutely bonkers. Israel attacked Virginia on September 11th, 2001, and now they're in control of the government, and they're killing us off, the people in Virginia, with us paying for it through our taxes. And the most innovative and operationally proven technologies in the world, UAV and aeronautics / counter UAV sea-based unmanned systems for National Guard, Port and Coast Guard, law enforcement, securing critical infrastructure using fiber infrastructure. So that's like was mentioned, AI, OSINT, unmanned system, police / SWAT intelligence, event management. So that event you saw on January 20th was managed by the Israeli Minister of Defense. Breaching, training, robotic, lethal, and non-lethal intervention. Port security and intelligence, detection of undersea threats, intelligence about ships, drugs, and human trafficking. Isn't that rich? The headquarters of all human trafficking in the world is going to say, what, we can help you traffic humans like we do? We can help you do it the best? And city...
Again, I'll just say here in California, I confronted Ehud Barak, who is a known child rapist and 9/11 co-conspirator. Again, they're doing it all over the country. People need to do something.
I mean, I've not seen them do this crazy stuff anywhere else. I don't think they can do it anywhere else but Virginia. Because this is ground zero when it comes to the war that's going on and that was escalating. and is escalating, I should say. So this is the ground zero for that.
What I mean is they come and they show their faces and they promote their garbage everywhere in the main Zionist meccas like in San Francisco, Chicago, and now they're really rubbing it in everyone's face in Virginia now.
Right, and this is right when they say you can't even have your guns. And I will tell you, I will trade guns, conventional weapons, for these weapons that these Israeli defense ministers are going to unleash on us here in the United States. See, that's what this is all about. You know, a gun, yeah, it's nice protection. I mean, when you're walking down the street and you're confronted with a heavily armed and criminal population like we have here in the United States, so that's when a gun is good. It's good then. It's not so good when dealing with UAV aeronautics. It's not that good when dealing with lethal robotics. It's not good. It's not good with lethal robotics. That means like those killbots, weaponized drones, everything that you would need to annihilate an enemy. You can't do that with a ragtag, Stripes reject crew. Oh, that was the other thing. It was like, man, what's that guy? You know that guy? I don't even want to like promote the guy, but the guy with the big sniper rifle in Richmond. I was like, man, what's going on? Why do I keep thinking John Candy when I see this guy? Why am I thinking John Candy? He doesn't really look like John Candy. What is it with John Candy? He reminds me of a melding of John Candy characters, including the one from Stripes. So it's like, okay, Stripes theme. I've seen the guy, I've seen the Jokers that go out in the past and have done Clockwork Orange themed attire on Lobby Day, because a lot of folks like to show off on Lobby Day. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the hate speech thing is pretty bad, but I mean, I don't know what else to say except for, yeah, I mean, we used to reach a lot more folks, and they've really tamped down on that, and it's been effective. It really has. It has been effective, but hey, we do our best. I don't know how many folks are going to watch this. Probably equal or more amounts to that watched the videos the first time out, on there. And then we have Live Leak, BitChute, other places that our videos are. So I guess they're spread out more than it was when it was just videos on YouTube. But hey, I don't know what else to say. Maybe we can move forward by just saying like, hey, we repudiate every bit of what this government's all about, and I don't know. It doesn't take it. The same folks that are inventing the these devices, they're not the same folks that are the pitchmen that are distributing it, and they're certainly not the same mouth breathers that press buttons to operate the things. So our only hope is to get control of all the weapons of war. I mean, that's it. And when I say our only hope, that's like, I mean, I'm not working with anybody except for like this political concept. I do have a lot of things, a lot of political ideas. I believe that we should have dual citizenship with all major Western European countries to counteract the power of the Rothschild Zionist crime state of so-called Israel. those are just some of the ideas. We are removing all consent, and we never really effectively abolished the government. I guess on an individual basis we did, but the government only exists through deadly force, and they tell us in every document of English common law that the rule must come from the consent of the governed, ordained by the people, and that the magistrates are servants, the magistrates being the government entities, not just the persons, but the entities, which would include any incorporation within the United States of America. And I must say, when we talk about the president of a corporation, it doesn't matter who the president of a corporation is when you are the entity that created the corporation and can liquidate and remove the bona fides of the corporation. So I don't know if folks are really getting what we're saying out there, but we're going to continue to say it. Cliff, well, thank you, Mark Latchison. These are things we think deeply about, and we notice when stuff goes on, and it's not something like we came out of nowhere 4 or 5 years ago and are willy-nilly all over the place, flip-flopping on everything that we used to stand for, like everything that we've been saying for the past 10 years. I remember hearing folks 10 years ago, 12 years ago saying, Chris, you're so redundant talking about the Bank for International Settlements. You're so redundant talking about how all the governments are controlled by the Jewish crime network and they all work under the same structure. Because, you got to be a dummy not to know that. They're telling you that. They're telling you that unequivocally. And as we always say, they're telling you that unequivocally and denying what that means. It's like, well, yeah, the SWIFT system, yeah. Oh, so they bring up the SWIFT system to say, oh, well, that's Iran didn't want to be removed from the SWIFT system. That's when they got in check. It's like, oh, wait a second, Iran's a part of the SWIFT system? And what's the SWIFT system? Well, read the Militia Handbook and you'll find out, but we'll tell you, hey, we do have a caller here. We'll take this caller. We'll give him a real short leash. And I mean it this time. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Chris, how you doing, bro? This is Jesse Meadows. I'm calling from Ruckersville, Virginia.
Okay. Greetings, Jesse. Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, what's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, have you heard this? Hey, have you heard where all of our courts, or actually, if they're fraudulent, they're maritime.
Sure.
And the thing I hear is, at birth, instead of the actual full birth, they're cutting the umbilical cord, and then they're using what's left of the, what do you call it? Oh God.
The placenta?
They're disconnected there, and they're considering you and I an abortion.
Right.
And they're putting the rest of the birth under the law that when they stamp your footprint and your mother gives you a birth certificate, that goes to the Roman Catholic Church. And then that puts us, because we don't know this, so we trip ourselves up because we don't know the black law.
I mean, Jesse, hold on a second, because there's a lot, and I think there's some truth to that, and I think that there's some misconception. Yeah, I mean, there is a birth certificate, yes, and I believe that they are doing they're collecting blood from everyone. They're collecting the elements of the afterbirth for everything, and yes, they are creating a corporate fiction at birth through a birth certificate. Now, whether this is whether the money flows to the Vatican, that I've never really seen proof of. So, and I'm certainly no apologist of that. I mean, I believe that the same thing goes for all clergy of the Whore of Rome. That goes for the if the law is enforced. I mean, the law calls for execution of all Roman Catholic priests, beginning with the Pope. But I don't know.
Well, that'd be nice, but unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think
Right.
That'll be the other way around. We're going home.
I mean, if you think, I mean, it's one or the other. I think it's really one or the other. I mean, and again, I don't have any vested interest in this. We oh man, I misspelled Revelations. We
Well, hey,
we don't really have a dog in this fight. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Yeah, I just wanted you to keep this number, and you can call me back when you get that, because I don't know, it's really hard to
No, that's all right.
talk to anymore. That people are waking up.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. Like, because it's like, I mean, what would be the purpose of that? I mean, I don't, I find that, a lot of this, a lot of the callers are just like putting out, random stuff. Like, I mean, what would be the purpose? I don't know you. You just called the show and said a few things about like maritime law. That's like, I don't know. That seems real suspicious to me. But if you don't know this, I mean, I've been involved in all sorts of government activity. Or go ahead, caller.
I've been watching you for probably about, I don't know, 6 months maybe. I've watched your old stuff that I can find on there. And I agree with you 100%. God bless you. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, caller. Much appreciated. We're gonna get to the next caller. All right. Hey, thanks a lot. Good call. Thanks, Jesse. We're gonna get to the next caller. All right. This one's a little more questionable.
I hear you. You've unmuted me. Okay, cool. All right, I'm at your description page.
Hold on a second. Whoa. Hey, caller. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, usually we wait to say, caller, what's your name and where you're calling from, especially since it's not you're using like a fake number to call in.
And okay.
Okay, so what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Joe. All right.
I mean, you don't have to get it. Hey,
Joe.
Joe.
Joe Phantom, is that your name? Joe Phantom, right? Okay. Now I want to talk about your decoding the coronavirus. I'm assuming that you mean. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, I will correct you.
Coronavirus might.
I said, yeah, I'll correct you.
Okay. That it might be a false flag, or it might be a red herring, or it might be something that's exaggerated in the news, or it might be some sort of an attack, either on the people of the United States or maybe on the world. I don't know, but when you have coding in front of it, it implies that the coronavirus isn't what it seems to be. So, how far on or off the topic am I?
I believe that yeah, we. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, we covered that. That's pretty much what we say. Hey, it might be exaggerated. It might not be a real thing. It seems like it is. But in any event, what is being reported on the ground in different parts of the United States and in China, there's definitely something happening. And this is also part of something that was simulated that we covered earlier in the show was it 2 years ago, where they had a simulation through Johns Hopkins University where coronavirus killed 65 million. So it's something.
Computer model?
I don't know if they had a computer model. I read from some of the short. Let's see if we can pull that back up. The short article about it.
Well, if you're saying simulation, and that's what you mean, if you're saying a simulation, they're not exactly going to kill 55 million people in a real-life test and nobody can do anything about it. So I know what you mean about the probably computer model. And I happen to agree that it's very possibly a test to find out how Americans will react. I also remember about 2 years ago there was the Ebola scare, and I predicted that would be over in about 3 months, and it was.
Right.
And this seems to follow the same pattern as the Ebola scare. What do you think?
I mean, it could, and we covered the possibilities of that, like shorting the stock market. I started paying attention to this because it came up quick. As far as I'm concerned with the news, I attempt to consume as much news as I can, quote unquote news, and they were referencing Goldman Sachs predicting a $3 drop in the price of oil, and that was. The headline, that was the big headline on Bloomberg, where the rest of the news was just covering impeachment. So if they fake it and it's faked, I mean, they could fake part of it and really like squeeze the benefit, in the lever of power that they control. But in any event, it's kind of across the board, and this is coming near, Chinese New Year. And it's really going to affect a lot of things, and it could be viewed as a test on how Americans are operating. But there's so much connection between China and the rest of the world that this sort of thing is you can't keep it isolated in China. But there's also similarities in that when you referenced Ebola. We found that was pretty verified as being created in the monkey lab at Fort Detrick, Maryland, and that was something that was kind of spreading worldwide, SARS type thing. It was the previous.
Yeah.
But
SARS has been around for a long time, but with the Ebola virus. Yeah, there was speculation that had been created by the CIA in a lab here in the United States. But then they were also talking about travelers from Africa coming to the United States, going back and forth, and worried about people.
There was also, sorry to interrupt, but there was also a lab, a United States or it was either United States / UNESCO lab. That was experimenting and cultivating Ebola before the outbreak in Africa as well. So I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt is that they are definitely creating viruses in labs, and they're certainly disseminating them, and that this.
You don't need to know all the exact details. As I was saying earlier, I saw an article from 2014 from The Atlantic, which is very reputable by the sort of mainstream standards. And it was saying that, scientists are creating uncurable diseases. So they're already creating uncurable diseases. It doesn't matter if the coronavirus is one of them. It doesn't matter if Ebola is one of them. Those details are, you start to tread on being pedantic. When you start to get, is this one fake? Is this one real? It's like when people want to say, nukes are fake. Well, even if that's true, which you can make some arguments and ask some questions, we already know they have enough lethal force to destroy the planet hundreds of times.
First off, we don't know that. Okay? And
Well,
the Atlantic, by mainstream standards, doesn't really give it credibility, along with the New Yorker and some other magazines.
Well, hold on. Hey, hold on a second. Hey, Joe, hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on. Whoa.
Release, Chris.
Hold on. but I just want to, yeah, okay. So we operate under Robert's rules, and I should have my latest edition. But anyway, we've got to get into that because yeah, there's absolutely no. You're saying that there's no proof that nuclear weapons.
I am saying that speculation's been around for a while, and I haven't seen documentation. And there's a National Security Archive that you can go to, which houses thousands of classified documents. And if you wanted to look up something like that, you can fairly easily. I haven't done it. It may be true, but I don't read. I mean, I don't.
But wait. I'm just trying to figure out what you're saying, that they do exist or they don't exist, because they measure.
So what I'm saying, I am saying, if you read and believe everything that's in the mainstream media, you're not exerting critical thinking. There is a website called the National Security Archive that
Right.
houses declassified documents.
So
Declassified documents.
right. So what's your point about that?
So my point is, you can't say we know for sure that these laboratories exist.
What did we? Wait. You're saying we know for certain that Fort Detrick. I mean, how do you not know? I mean, like I mean, video evidence. I'll say video evidence from Fort Detrick.
For God's sake, National Security Archive website
Right.
houses of the classified government documents.
Okay.
You have those documents. That's as close to the smoking gun as you can get.
I don't need the smoking gun though. I don't need the smoking gun. Like the gun that I saw the gun fire. So like I don't need to see the smoking gun because I know who's pulling the trigger and where it's pointed, and I watched it, the whole thing, and then it's also captured by CCTV. So when you're talking to this,
No, you don't.
yes I do.
No, you don't. No,
Okay.
You go by where there's smoke, there's fire, and that's absolutely true. But you can't say, I've seen the person shoot.
Mr. Phantom, you're starting to get pedantic with this metaphor. Chris, this is what I mean when it gets to this point, they've
You
shown
don't
what
like-
they are.
Hey, no. Cliff, let me handle this. Hey, God bless. Hey, God, I'm telling you, this is BS, man. I don't know who you think you are, Joe, fake name, man. But when I speak, man, I'm not interested in you trying to come on this show and do what? What is your purpose? Listen to me. Thank you.
You don't believe in evidence. Neither does your partner. And
Hey.
your partner going, this
You
is
walked
bad.
into
No. Cliff, listen to me. And I'm going to explain something to you. If you and I, listen to me. God,
You are a nobody.
listen to me.
Nobody trying to be a somebody. So don't say, listen to me.
I'm saying listen to me, chump. I'm saying listen to me, you coward who can't even say what your real name is. You coward who can't say what your real name is. Where are you, buddy?
How do you know what my real name is?
I know it's not Joe Phantom, and that's what you said it was, chump.
I didn't say it was Phantom. That was your voice.
And then you repeated it.
Yeah, and you agreed with it. Joe.
And then you agreed, you chump.
For God's sake, you guys don't think. I said it.
You're not sa-
Listen. Go back to your world.
No. You came into my world. You dialed the wrong number, son. You dialed the wrong number, you Jew. All right. So that Jew is down. So that was interesting. And they had to come in. So, Cliff, what do you?
I feel like he called last week.
I mean, it could be. He
Definitely called before.
he's possibly called before. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that guy was just, I mean, masterful at saying like, well, I haven't done this, but you can do this. No, you haven't. What you're saying that this is what this guy said. There's no proof that these bioweapons labs exist. Let's see what the listeners think. Listeners, as you know, maybe a point of comment. Do you believe these biological warfare weapons labs exist? Do you think that they existed? I mean, we've quoted from a story tonight on this show referencing a bioweapons lab. Hey, let's look up bioweapons lab. Let's just do that. Bioweapons labs. So just for everyone to kind of see what we're dealing with when we're dealing with that subtle type of misinformation, where it was like, I didn't know what this guy starts talking and acting like he's an expert, and I thought he was talking about nuclear weapons, whether they existed or not. I was just trying to figure out what he was talking about. And then he's like, oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about, dude. Oh, here's Wikipedia is the first thing that pops up. Okay. United States Army Biological Warfare Laboratories. Let's see what that says. Let's see. The U.S. Army Biological Warfare Laboratories were a suite of research laboratories and pilot plant centers operating at Camp Fort Detrick, Maryland. All right, so they do exist. Not like Santa Claus. Not like a legitimate caller on a radio show. Let's see.
Or a legitimate presidential election.
Or a legitimate presidential or any other election. Over 100. Okay, so we got to get a good source. Weapons labs, biological research raises concerns. Let's see. Let's go to that one. Let's see. Two U.S. nuclear weapons are opening biological research labs capable of studying more dangerous pathogens, raising concerns. And this is from, trying to figure out what the date is on this. Let's see. This is 2008. On January 25th, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory began operating a new biosafety level 3 BSL-3 research lab. In addition, Los Alamos National Laboratory is scheduled to complete a federally mandated environmental study on a similar lab in 2008, enabling the lab to begin operations soon thereafter. Okay, case closed. That source is... Let's see what the source on that is. Linda Seaver, a spokesperson for the Lawrence Livermore Lab, sought to... let's see. No, let's get back to that. It is difficult for outsiders to determine if a country is engaging in offensive or defensive biological weapons research, putting a premium on transparency and confidence-building measures to reassure the international community. Outside groups have raised concern that locating the new BSL-3 labs in weapons facilities will make it difficult to convince other countries of the peaceful intent of U.S. research. Okay.
60 seconds.
Let's see. The CDC just shut a few down. Oh, Yasmin Cuellar says, at first I thought he was going to talk about the nukes too, because he did say nuclear weapon. You see, that's what these guys do. Cliff was right. Cliff was absolutely right. I like to catch him in it, and you know, I don't like all the chatter, because I know what the guy's doing when he starts doing it, but I'm gonna give him a chance to do it, and give him just enough rope to hang himself. All right, so there you go. There we have it. Cliff, we're getting near the end of the show. Any thoughts?
10 seconds.
Any thoughts or any final thoughts on tonight's show?
I mean, I'm hopeful, but I'm disappointed. I mean, the news about the coronavirus does seem a bit distressing, but as we sit there, I mean, this could play out a couple of different ways. I mean, it definitely seems as though we've been getting so much pandemic predictive programming the past couple of years, but I guess my niece had her firstborn yesterday, so that was good news, and which is why I'm disappointed. I find it unfortunate that my descendants are being born and are in it's still a hellscape, and that the people of the planet have not remedied this yet as commanded by law. But I still hold out hope that it'll get done, and keep faith in God. And as always, I say peace, much love, and search for truth.
Hey, thanks, Cliff. I agree. Yeah, there's no hope in anything but God. God created the entire universe, so His will is always done. So I guess just everything is happening for a reason, and we can just work to do the best we can. I think this is the same caller that we had before. Jesse, is that you on the line, or is this a different caller? 434 caller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Jesse again. I mean, I was just listening in.
Okay. Hey, sounds great. Hey, thanks for calling in, Jesse. I think we're gonna close the show down and wish everybody have a good weekend, and peace and God bless. We'll talk to you soon. We're still live. Sorry about that, y'all. Hey, God bless. Peace and God bless. Trying to finish this thing.